Hey guys, what's up? This is my third time recording this podcast. Microphone fucked up the first time. But this is a subject and a thought I want to get around to. And it's only after John Jones' B sample was confirmed that he did, in fact, test positive for the steroid Turinabol, I think it's called. I wanted to give my thoughts on the whole subject. Okay, so I looked into Turinabol myself. I listened to a few podcasts. Chael Sonnen was talking about it as well. And he was mentioning that this steroid has been around for a very long time. And it's usually seen in, I think, kind of like old school powerlifters. And it's usually taken in a stack, which I think that's a very important thing to remember, realise. Important fact. If this is taken in a stack, which means Jones might have got popped for this steroid, but he might have been using it along with a lot of other things. We know USADA is not perfect, but they're getting very, very good and efficient at their job. So while other steroids he was taking, speculation, may have slipped underneath the radar, they caught him for this one. This was as well, I think Chael Sonnen was saying that the German female Olympic swimming team in the 1970s took Turinabol themselves. They were open about it, and they broke all records around them. It's supposed to. It's got another very important thing to know about Turinabol. It's got a very short half-life, so it may only stay in your system for, I think it's less than 24 hours. So if you know when you're being tested, or you can kind of gauge when you're being tested, you can take Turinabol and it can be out your system by the next day, say. Well, obviously Jones fucked that up as well. Now this just leads into more speculation though. Jones himself yesterday came out on Twitter and said that he would never take steroids. You know, so either we need fucking Sherlock Holmes on this, and there's someone out there who wants to destroy Jones's career and is doing an extremely good job of it, or else Jones is just a typical, he's in too far and he can't turn around and say he put his hands up. He's going to keep lying. Some people believe him. I can't believe him. There's too much against him at the moment. But enough of the speculation bullshit. I want to talk about the fight. I want to talk about the Jones-Cormier fight. Even the way the fight happened, I don't think the result would have been any different if John Jones had taken steroids or not. Which might be a silly thing to say, but it's something I believe. I think Jones is extremely physically gifted. Steroids will get you so far. Will let you train a bit extra. If I take steroids, I will not become John Jones. That level of talent and athleticism and even his physical size and everything, and his reach and but for some reason, what Jones is so talented for physically, it kind of balances itself out with his mental aspect of his game. I feel like he's mentally weak. I think that's his problem with his career. And there's no real reason for him to be. You look at the who's who of who he's beaten. Most of these guys, if not all, are all future Hall of Famers. Unbelievable athletes. And not only did he beat them all convincingly. Maybe his closest fight was Gustafsson, and he kind of got a shock. But to me, the most important fact and the most important thing that kind of clicked in my head about Jones, if Jones got popped for Viagra pills that he so-called claimed were tainted, and he was suspended for what, a year and a half, 2 years, he comes back, and then I think he was suspended again. No, sorry. And he comes back and he's going to fight Cormier for the title, finally get redemption, finally get his title back, finally clear his name, and he pops for steroids in this fight. To me, if he doesn't learn his lesson from the first time, how dependent is he on these steroids? Like, can he not fight without them? Which then leads to further speculation saying, is his entire career and his entire legacy destroyed now? And I think the most important thing to look at this situation is, from this day and age in which we look at MMA, from all of the greats that are in the Hall of Fame, from a lot of the people who are in Pride, a lot of these amazing fighters, Vitor Belfort for example, he'll go down in Hall of Fame, but a lot of these earlier athletes were on performance enhancing drugs. They were. But Jones now is in an era where it's looked down upon, it's shamed, it's in all sports. They're all trying to out them in cycling, in baseball, in NFL, and especially in a sport where you're using your limbs and to damage your opponent. You know what I mean? You don't just, if you're taking steroids in NFL, you win a game of football. Yeah, you might inflict an extra bit of damage, but if your primary reasoning, in that game is to inflict damage, and you're taking steroids to inflict extra damage on the opponent, you could, it's not being over dramatic, you could end up killing this opponent. You have an unfair advantage over them. So it's a very interesting debate I think we can have with Jon Jones now, with his career. A lot of other people who are in the Hall of Fame from 5 years ago, say, who maybe retired, who were using performance enhancing drugs, are accepted because it was just a way of the times. Now Jon Jones, in my opinion, I think, looking at the evidence, I'd say he was on a lot of performance enhancing drugs his entire career. But now what do we do with him? Do we finally cut him off and say, no, he's not going to the Hall of Fame, he's shunned, he's shamed, we push him away because we don't accept this anymore? But we will accept Vitor, we will accept these other people who are obviously on steroids, but no, there was no testing back then, whatever. But I suppose there is other factors as well. Jon Jones did a lot of questionable shit as well, with the hit and run and stuff like that. And because I think the most important thing is he fucked over Dana, and that doesn't fly. He made a lot of bad decisions. I'm not, But I feel sorry as well for Cormier. And with Jon Jones fucking up so badly yet again, Cormier's in a sticky situation that he lost his title to Jones. And I think if it had went to decision or something, it would have been more respected nearly. It would have been more accepted. But the fact that Jones destroyed Cormier and knocked him out and defeated him convincingly, I think it just seems a bit strange if you turn around and say, even though it was a no contest, if you turn around and just hand him back his belt, and it just, everyone's kind of like, that's our champion, but we just kind of seen him get fucking wrecked, get flatlined. It just leaves a weird taste. Like, I think Dana's doing it out of guilt, giving him back his belt. And Cormier will take it for reasons, like financial reasons as well, because you earn more money when you're a title holder. But I feel like he should have fought for it, It's all the same really, but I was kind of thinking it would have been Cormier versus Gustafsson, maybe, number contender for the title. And I would say Cormier would win it again. He's a deserved champion. He's clean as far as we know. And Jones wasn't. He entered in. He signed a contract saying he wouldn't take steroids, all the rest of it. He followed the rules. Didn't follow the rules. There's no fight. So, yeah. So that's my thoughts and opinions on it. I think that the biggest talking point from the whole thing is it's a bit larger than Jones. It's a bit larger, and there's more athletes each day. Even in MMA, just for example, being popped. Another guy from The Ultimate Fighter got popped for PEDs as well. And athletes, you will see a huge change, I think. Some athletes will have to change a lot of the strength and conditioning and everything around it. Maybe not using PEDs anymore, saying, look, we can't chance this anymore. If we get caught, we're fucked. And a lot of athletes might go, look, we need to up our research and knowledge on PEDs so we can take them more effectively and get around USADA. Because don't be naive, they're still in the sport. There's a lot of champions, I'd say, even to this day, that are on PEDs, performance and drugs, steroids. And this last part, I want to just speculate, and I was just thinking the other day, what happens with Jones? What happens with Jones? If he gets the 4 years, I think 4 years is the maximum you can get for testing positive for steroids. in his case, because I think USADA is going to throw the book at him because he fucked him around a lot. They're going to make an example of him big time. So I think if John gets 4 years, what happens with Jones? Does he come back and fight in the UFC? Will he still be a name? You know, I know he can come back with maybe like a bad boy, image, like a rebel image, and go with that kind of nearly heel WWE kind of fight, and people might want to watch him to see him lose. Or is he gone past that? I was thinking maybe he might go to Bellator. 4 years time he might go to Bellator and maybe he might fight Brock Lesnar. I think that's what could happen. This super fight might be put on hold, and the two of them might go to Bellator. 4 years when he comes back, two of them get a lot of money, and it's something people still might want to see in 4 years time. But that's all I can see for Jones. I don't know what's going to happen to him. It's not going to be overturned. He will get punished. He'll probably get 4 years. He's got no sponsorships. He's got bills to pay, and what he's done with his career, it might be the biggest fall from grace in, I won't even say more than combat sports history. It might even be in sports history. I'd have to look into that more, but I'd say he's well up. Sorry, I'd say he's well up there. I'd say he's well up there in fuck up, so to say, in downfalls of probably one of the greatest fighters of all time to where he actually is in relation to where he is. And I think the biggest tragedy of this whole thing is I don't think John Jones did not need steroids. Did not.